Hello. I recently configured everything on my system to the point I want to have it. And for those of you who don't know me, I am Hikari Knight. I am a programmer and I do a lot of different things with computers and stuff. But I'm also a gamer and I enjoy playing games, but I do not enjoy using Windows as my primary operating system, and I can't be bothered to be running Windows just in case I want to play a game. And then also use Windows for work and what I usually do. So I recently upgraded my whole system over to a Threadripper 1920X because I saw a local store was selling it for like around $200 below the current price. So I literally got it for almost nothing. So I decided I'm gonna buy this and actually use it in my system. I was trying to do this with my old system, but I ran into the issue with the fact that I was running out of PCIe lanes because the Intel platform only has 19, and then with Ryzen you get 24, which is better, but I kind of need more just for future proofing and things like that, and the extra cores for from the Threadripper system like helps me avoid the issue of running several virtual machines, which I do a lot of times. Running several virtual machines, and then the system becomes so slow that it's almost unusable. Because sometimes on my projects I need to have like five virtual machines running, and with a computer with just four cores, that becomes very slow. Anyway, a small tour of my system. Um, like this is literally what I have used to um, get gaming working in Linux by using Windows as a virtual machine to play games on. I'll talk more about that later. Um, anyway, I have quite a few programs that I use on a daily basis, and one of them is actually not installed here, but it's called Spider, which is a development environment for Python. Anyway, what the main thing that I actually got this for was because high core count and 64 PCIe lanes, out of which 60 are available for me to use for whatever I want. Also, the audio control in Linux is a lot better because I can actually change input and output per application instead of like everything has to go through this or that. And like if let's say Chrome doesn't support changing the uh, changing which speaker it goes through, I can actually change that here myself. So my current system, what I currently have in it is a GTX 1060 6GB and a GTX 1070 Ti. And the 1070 Ti is currently running in the Windows virtual machine that I will show you soon. Also, I have isolated it uh, so that it doesn't show, and so that it's actually not being used by the system. So if you look here, uh, oh, NNVV, there we go. If we have a look here, this is the This is the 1060, and if we go further up, we should find different one. Yeah, here we go. This is the 1070 Ti, although it doesn't have an actual identifier. Oh, never mind, it actually has one now. Cool. And then we have a USB controller, although it's a via one, which is absolutely trash. It can't be reset, so it works for one, maybe two virtual machine reboots, and then I have to reboot the whole computer to actually get it working again properly. So I might just remove that. Anyway, the main thing I wanted to show you was the main reason I wanted to go with a Threadripper build was because of the Numa mode. So this is the topology of the processor, and on Numa node 0 we have obviously my PCI, my hard drives and the network card, and then on the Numa node 1 we have my main GPU, which is on the Linux host, and then this is the 1070 Ti, which is running inside the Windows virtual machine. And the Windows virtual machine is using the processor core 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0 to 5, which is essentially core 1 to 6. I haven't gotten hyper-threading to work yet, but I doubt that I will actually need that in the Windows virtual machine. And I've made so that the virtual machine only uses things from the first Numa node, so that I get the least amount of latency, so that it doesn't have to cross from the first Numa node, which is the first die, to the second Numa node, which is the second die on the Threadripper, which means that it has to go through Infinity Fabric and all that to get the information from these cores and the memory here. Now, on the actual virtual machine side, if we go here, we have the Windows 10 system running, and then I have a OS X running, a OS X machine for when I need to test out scripts in OS X, which is rarely, but I still need it, and I'm not buying a iMac or a MacBook for a lot of money for an outdated system. Not gonna do that. So, if we go to open, I can't get this screen here to work because GPU Passthrough. I can get it to work, but it will just make things a mess when I actually use the system. Anyway, VirtIO paravirtualization disk, so I get the least amount of latency again. It's not on an SSD. I tried to put it on an SSD, but the SSD that I had spare died. I have two network cards to avoid bottlenecks. I have one to communicate with the network, and then I have one that is directly tied from host to host. And funnily enough, this actually breaks Steam in-home streaming, funny enough. So I can't use that for playing games. I've tried. And then here we have the 1070 Ti and the audio controller for it. And then we have the USB controller, because I wanted to plug in my Xbox controller directly into the virtual machine, because you can't do a USB forward with that because the Xbox controllers are stupid and a pain in the ass. So that's essentially it with this that you can actually see here. 8 gigs of memory out of 32, so I can go up to 16 if I need it. So far, I don't need it yet, because the Windows machine is not actually going to run anything. And 6 cores, and pretending to be an Epic CPU. Now, with just those settings, the performance wasn't exactly great, because I had not set any NUMA settings in the actual virtual machine. So, what I had to do is that I had to pin the emulator to CPU cores 0 to 5, and set the memory mode to strict and only set it to use NUMA node 0, which is like the first die, which is where the graphics card was connected. Remember that, that's very important. And then I also do the same thing here to lock the make sure that it only uses uses 8 gigabytes of memory that is actually connected to the first NUMA node. And here's the topology. If I change this to threads 2 and actually edit the CPU parameters and stuff like that, it doesn't work. It complains about that I'm using too many CPUs. So I've tried to edit that around, and this works for now, so I will not edit that. Also, in order for NVIDIA graphics cards to work in the virtual machine, you have to hide the fact that you're actually running on a hypervisor, which is what this part here is mainly for. Mainly this part, but you also need to add a vendor ID, and because NVIDIA tries to avoid people doing this, unless you want to pay a lot of money for a Quadro card, because you're allowed to do this then. I decided to use that value as a vendor ID. And then we have this for to actually make a shared memory for Looking Glass. And this is actually what I have done in preparations for Looking Glass when it actually gets more fleshed out, because it's extremely promising. However, it's a bit broken at the moment with NVIDIA cards on the host Linux machine, which is what I have, and a lot of them are related to the QMO or Q emulator, and how it's handling my mouse interactions, along with the fact that it doesn't work properly when I move my cursor between the Looking Glass window and the actual host PC, and when I click into the Looking Glass window, it will lock up the cursor and stuff like that. But it works fine on my work desktop at one of my jobs. And the only difference there is that it's an Intel platform, but I had this on my previous processor too, which was an Intel i5 7600K. I had the same issue there, but the only difference is that the computer at work I used the Intel integrated graphics instead of a second GPU card. So that's all the changes I've done in here. And if I want to actually access everything now, what I can do is that I can go into Looking Glass and F. Oh, it didn't want. Oh, right. I haven't actually. I haven't actually prepared the memory module, but there we go. And now I'm inside the virtual machine, but as you can see, I have an issue each time I click. Is that it moves the cursor back up there, and I haven't interacted with the window yet. All I did was lock my cursor to actually be able to move around in here, so this is actually not usable for me right now. Which is a bit sad, because I really like this. Because it has the least amount of latency out of all the solutions I've tried. And then we also have Steam, so I could stream any game, but it's hit and miss because of the para-virtualized networking card. And I want it to be para-virtualized because it gives me the least amount of latency. If I set it to something else, I will get a lot more latency because it's actually emulating an actual card that exists. So I can't use Steam directly, but I keep this here for whenever I actually play a native Linux game. So what other solutions are there? I also have VNC for just quick access to the virtual machine, which is actually quite handy, but it's like it doesn't look pretty. So what else can I do? Well, since I have a NVIDIA graphics card in the virtual machine, what I can do is use something called Moonlight, which emulates a NVIDIA Shield. So here I can go into Windows 10 VM and access Steam Desktop. This way I also get sound. Hang on, I actually have to change something because OBS does not capture this directly because it's a full screen program. So I have to change to this, and here we go. Now you should see the screen directly, and I am actually inside the Windows machine now. And to show you that we are on a virtual machine, I can go into Task Manager. I said I can go into Task Manager, or does it not let me now? Task Manager, Performance and Epic Processor, 6 cores, 8 gigs of memory. So, I also have a huge Steam disk on 4 terabytes that I want to have accessible through both the Linux system and the Windows system. I could just pass it through with the USB controller, but like as I said, it was unstable, so I'm just going to remove it. So my solution for it was just a share, and this actually works really well, since that's what I also use the paravirtualized networking card for host-to-host communication. Also, this here is just the Looking Glass host running, and it's unstable, doesn't work right. It's early alpha or early beta, late alpha software, so it doesn't work really well. Anyway, with Moonlight, I have access to the computer in very low latency, and I can also access the graphics card, as you can see, 1070 Ti, and in case you were still doubting that I am running on a virtual machine, I can eject it like a USB. Yeah. Anyway, let's fire up a game, shall we? Let's see, what game should we fire up though? We could fire up Monster Hunter World. And the good thing with using Moonlight is that I can also pass through my Xbox controller without using a USB controller PCIe card, since mine doesn't really work really well. It takes a bit of time to just start running, because it's obviously running on a share, so there's like a small penalty in loading times. But this actually works really well. And remember, my main point is to actually be able to run the game. Let's see if I actually can find a online session. Last time I tried this, it didn't work real well. So let's see. Oh, okay. Also, Moonlight does have its few problems too. I can't Alt-Tab out of the game. However, I can do Control-Alt-Shift and Z to move out of the game or outside of Moonlight and then tab out, which works fine. Although you can't see it on the screen because of
the first Wyverians might be able to tell us where Zora Magdaros is.
But you can't see it because I'm currently on here. Anyway, let's go back to the game. I can also... Oh, I actually wonder, can I actually show this? I could also go into the Moonlight game. Oh, it actually shows up now, cool. I'm going to do a Control-Shift-Alt and X, and what happens then is that I get window mode. And with window mode, I can actually adjust the size the way I want it. Although you get the black bars on the side, because there is no scaling. Anyway, I also get controller support, which means I can actually move around, and as you can see, the quality is good enough to be decent. So I'll actually go on I'll go on an expedition. Oops. It's such a long time since I actually played this game. But as you can see, it works really well. Very little latency. I can use mouse, keyboard, and I can use a controller, and I can pass through multiple controllers. If there's more than one controller in Moonlight, there should be support for multiple controllers. I've seen the option for it. Obviously, this
You know the drill. Start looking for clues. Let's split up and search. Don't worry. I'll be careful this time.
Either way, this is like obviously not a perfect solution, but it works, and I'm really, really, really happy with it. Because I can actually play while having my main operating system be whatever I want. I'm planning to try and boot up a much more faster title. And just to show you that the settings are actually pretty high, I can put this on high. I put this on. As you can see, this actually works, still works really well. So yeah, I would call this a success. Good game. Oh. Okay, so I need to get back to the camp. I think there's one through here. As you might be able to tell, I am not really amazingly known in this game at all. I haven't been able to play it as much as I wanted to. Okay, it's not there. Oh, I see the camp, or one of them. So I can use this one, hopefully. Yes. So let's return from the expedition and actually go into a different game and try it out. But yeah, this is something I've tried to actually accomplish for a long time, but I kind of gave up on it because there was not much information about it on the internet that I found that was like
The first Wyverians might
easy
be
to
able to
read
tell us where Zora Magdaros
and
is.
understand. Plus, I was a lot younger then. But now there's a lot more information, better guides, and better ways to do things. So let's try a different game. Which other game should we try that is actually quite good? We could try Distance. I haven't actually used Distance. I haven't actually played Distance in a long while. Although I did try it out. It has native Linux port, but we can try it out anyway. It runs really well. And to be honest, I can wait for games to boot up. I have no problems with that. No, I do not want to remove them because I did not unsubscribe from them. It might be that they're actually incompatible now. But yeah, this game actually has a well, not proper, but it has a actual story mode now. So you could actually play it a bit. But what I'm gonna do first is go into audio. Yeah, they have done a lot of changes since I actually played this last time. So let's go into campaign and actually watch the intro. For those of you who don't know, this game is a successor to a university project, if I understood this right, called Nitronic Rush, and this is like the fully fledged game that actually became out of it. Nitronic Rush is still downloadable and literally free to play, but it lacks a lot of the features that this game has. This game also has a film grain filter on it, so you can get
The array is our new home. By combining the resources of satellite sectors, the array functions as one metropolis. From energy storage to food production.
Okay, so film grain, you can actually see that you can get a lot of the quality. There's like on my end, there's like no tearing. Well, in some games there are tearing, but I don't find it that much. Like, if I have to sacrifice VSync to get to play my games on Linux, I will gladly do that.
Welcome to Sector 17, Transit Center. Alert. Fatal oxygen levels present in this sector. Evacuate immediately to the nearest quarantine zone.
I do like this game though. I actually want to play through this story for this, but not I could do it on stream. Actually. Yeah, I could do it on stream. But not this one. I would obviously play the Linux version of it, so...
Of sectors 11, 9, and 8 cannot be determined. Paths have been disabled until status is verified.
Yeah, that's the distance. So, main menu. And yeah, oh, there's a lot more. Lost Echoes is like the old adventure. That's cool. So they actually kept the maps too. That's actually quite nice of them. So let's see, what's another one? I can't try Fallout because it's not my game. It belongs to a friend of mine. So let's see, how about we try... Oh, where is it? Here we go. This one is a lot more fast-paced. So it would be a perfect test. Oh yeah, I remember this. The difficulty just spiked after the last map here. Still, I'm going to give it a try. Maybe I can beat it on stream.
3, 2, 1, go!
But yeah, I'm not amazing at this game. I gotten far, but holy F, how the difficulty spiked. Like the AI in this game for for driving is actually quite good. Yeah, I'm not able to gain any ground there at all, but as you can see on the screen, there's like no tearing or very little of it. You barely notice it, and I get a steady 60 FPS, which is what I wanted. I didn't choose that, but okay.
2.
So yeah, the only minor issues I get is like there's like slight discoloration, like, but it's so little. I don't really care. I get to play my games and I'm happy. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's literally it. Like, and then once I'm done, I can do a Control Shift Alt Q for quit, and I will be back out here. Everything is fine. And since I have a GTX 1060 on the Linux host, I can like use DaVinci Resolve and other heavy programs that are native to Linux on Linux, which makes me happy. I actually get to use the operating system I want to use and I'm used to use, while still being able to play games. And I wouldn't be able to have done this without Wendell and Nif's guide for how to actually get this done. The VFIO PCIe guide here, which is honestly not that much to do. The only thing that is not covered here is pinning the CPU to specific cores and the Numenode things. That's like the only thing that is not covered here. Everything else is covered. Also, network, the actual host-to-host network is not covered here. I actually found that myself. And that's literally it. You can actually get this sorted out within a day or less. Not sure how it is on the AMD side if you're using an AMD graphics card, but if you're running a NVIDIA graphics card, you can get this done in a day or less. One thing to remember with Moonlight though is that you need another Flatpak package to enable Flatpaks to actually use NVIDIA graphics. Other than that, everything else is actually fine. So I hope you have enjoyed, and I will call it a day and end the stream here. Oh, one thing I need to show you before I go though. System monitor. And resources. Look at all those cores. I never would have imagined myself running a processor with this many cores. Also, the red color doesn't actually mean anything other than, hey, it's this processor here. Like, I haven't even bothered to change the colors yet because like there's just too many of them. and it runs pretty cool. And this is on air cooling, may I add. If I go here, like this is 38 degrees. I have not seen it go over 55, which is the same as my old Intel setup. So I hope you enjoyed this like small look around my system. I haven't actually showed any of the work I do, but like I can do so much more now. Oh, fun fact about the this amount of memory usage: like 4 GB of it is Chrome, and 8 GB is the Windows virtual machine, and the rest is Linux. So it doesn't really use that much of system memory, this setup, at all. Anyway, have a nice day, and goodbye.